looking at the participants area closely if anybody has questions. Why doesn't everybody, let's see, can I do, what kind of capabilities do I have? Area closely if anybody has questions. Yeah, so we would like to go through the presentations and hold your questions until the end. I think it's a little more civilized that way. And then I can moderate. We would prefer, so if you got a question at the end of the talk, if you can use the little hand raising thingy, that would be good. So Gene, they should have, I can't lower everybody's hands, right?
I'm looking.
Because some people raise their hands and keep their hands up.
Yeah, you'll be able to lower it. Well, I'm not sure.
Well, we're going to try the raised hand method. And if so, you do have questions, you know, at the end, just raise your hand and me or Gene will moderate. So we're also going to broadcast this live on YouTube. So if you are listening now and you can, if you follow WordCamp, let's see, follow WordCamp Miami or me, Dimension Media on Twitter. I'm going to tweet out something right now and then feel free to retweet it. And let's make ours the most popular meetup of the night. Yeah. Gotta be proud of something. And today it's not my kids, so it's gotta be this. So.
All right.
Yes, I believe I phrased this before. You know, if you don't want to be part of the meetup, just leave us, instead of calm motion breezes, just put our meetup on in the background as background noise. Because it put me to sleep last month. All right, let's see. I'll just throw it on my default. All right. Hopefully everybody has survived another month. It's been a month and a week, I think, since our last meetup. I know we had some good talk. We had a youth talk and the top 9, and I'm trying to remember. We talked, forget what our third talk was about. But it's been a very long, it seems like been a very long time. I'm going to post in the chat there's Patrick. You may want to text him when you have a chance, maybe, but he should be ready to go. So we are broadcasting tonight on YouTube, and that Twitter link I dropped in has the YouTube link in it, and Olivia just dropped in the YouTube link as well. So pick your poison. Feel free to retweet and share the YouTube link.
By the way, I'm here in case you guys were looking for me. How's it going?
Yeah, we should be, I mean, as long as you can share a screen, we should be ready to go, but Gene can chat with you if there's anything going on that we should know about. Let me start letting more people in. So we have 2 talks this evening. First of all, feel free everyone to say hi in the chat. Just let me in, a lot of you I know, so just let me know if you're doing okay and how things are going, or there's anything interesting you've done with WordPress recently. You can also feel free to use the chat at some point to ask questions. for the talk for our speakers. Like I was mentioning before, we're going to hold our questions, asking the questions until the end of our talks. If you can raise your hand, great. Or what I'll do is I can also go into the chat, and Gene or me will go into the chat and pick up the questions and ask Guy. But you can have the chance to open up the floor for follow-up questions after that. I didn't do any top 9 this month because I think our schedule was pretty packed. Anyway, feel free to also throw in the chat if you're looking for assistance or help, or looking for maybe role work or anything like that too. It never hurts, even if there's not something right now. I always save our chats, and if there's ever something that qualifies, I referred 1 or 2 people to some things last week that I wasn't able to handle or fell outside my area of expertise. Sorry, getting one last stretch in there. If there's any other general WordPress questions too, you can feel free to throw them in there. We'll see if we have time at the end to answer them. The only major thing that would be going on in substitute of the top 9, there is, I believe there was, maybe Guy or Gene can remind me, I'm pretty sure there was a WordPress maintenance update in the last 30 to 40 days.
Yeah, that's right. It was a small update. A couple of bugs.
Yeah, so just make sure that you're running the latest version of WordPress, and I would I'm looking at the WordPress blog right now, because they would, yeah, 5.4.2, no, well, okay, the latest 5.4.2 security maintenance release was posted on June 10th. So I could have been right after our last meetup. So I'm posting a link in the Slack channel right now. It's the latest update. It's a security update. You shouldn't have any problem. There shouldn't be any second thoughts in being able to push that update for your WordPress. If you're already on a host, then your WordPress is automatically updated for that. I will probably find a link later in between the 2 talks to share with you some really cool stuff coming to the block editor. WordPress 5.5 is coming out next month in August. I think we'll have another meetup before WordPress 5.5 is released. So if you look there, you can get the WordPress 5.5 beta if you're interested in it. I'm dropping that link into the chat. There, you can download it, or there is a WordPress beta tester plugin. I don't know if I can walk and chew gum at the same time, but there is a good link on the Make website of some of the some changes that are coming to Gutenberg, and they're actually pretty cool. Personally, I think I've used Gutenberg more in the last 3 months, building 3 or 4 separate websites than I have since it first came out in WordPress 5. And one of the things that is even going to make that even more solidified is that there is now going to be a block directory coming in WordPress 5.5. So I believe, and Guy, maybe you could be touching on this too a little bit, but it's my understanding that instead of hunting for blocks in the plugins, you can now hunt for them directly in the block editor. And that's coming in. I know it's coming in 5.5. I forget exactly what the order was in that. So maybe we'll see 10,000 blocks in our block editor to choose from very soon. Who knows? Okay, good. We have someone from Greenville, South Carolina. So good for you. You're not in Florida, so you're already winning tonight. We already have an early winner in our chat. Yeah, so if you're not from the South Florida area, or if this is your first WordPress meetup, please drop a note in the chat, because it's always nice to see good news. That's why I'm staying off of Twitter for the most part tonight. don't really have much in terms of announcements. If this is your first time to the South Florida WordPress meetup, we typically do our meetups on the first Thursday of every month, but we are flexible because being virtual allows us to be flexible, mostly on speakers, or with our speakers. So one of our speakers tonight, thankfully pushed this meetup up another week, which worked better for my plans, I tell you. So I get to blame it on Guy in terms of we're having our, what is this, the second, third? Geez, how many Thursdays have we had so far? This is the third Thursday? Yeah, it's the third Thursday of July. Oh, because July 4th. We weren't going to do it on the second anyway because of July 4th. Yeah, so it would have been July. It would have been a week later anyway, but Guy helped us push it to the 16th. I'm trying to think of, if you think of any, if there's any other news that I think is worthy to share with the meetup group like we usually do every month, I can certainly think about that and share it in between the two talks. But let's see if there's anybody. See, I'm just looking to see if I missed anybody, letting them in. I think we're good for now. I'll keep an eye on that. So we have people from outside the US. We have people from Myrtle Beach. We have people from Vegas. So I guess one of the things I could mention now, because we have a lot of people, or we have more people coming in now, and they're all waiting to hear Guy, not me, talk, so I can hang on to their attention span for one. So if you happen to know of a WordPress, maybe you are like part of a traditional local WordPress meetup. So if you're from South Carolina, or you're from Central Florida, or wherever you are, you could be used to or still associated with people from your physical WordPress meetup, which is good. So what we were thinking of is we wanted to, everything is virtual. So just because you have a South Florida WordPress meetup and you have a South Carolina WordPress meetup, really, they're just two separate groups. They're very difficult to distinguish now anymore, just the people who run them, because all virtual, it's just a time and a Zoom address now as all these meetups. What we would like to do is that we would like to have one day, maybe next month, where we can get 3 or 4 meetups combined together. And especially meetups that maybe the organizers are having a little, that are being overwhelmed right now in terms of trying to find speakers, or just overwhelmed with their meetups in general. If you happen to know someone that runs a local meetup, whether they're on virtual or they haven't tried virtual yet, refer me to them or refer them to me, whichever direction makes sense, because there is no reason why we can't, if we decide on a date, invite the Southwest, the Central Florida, the Orlando meetups together in one place. And especially if we have the right account that holds a certain number of people, then there are no limits. And I think it would be really cool to have some new faces and share the load of responsibility for organizing, organizing an event or organizing a meetup. Or, for example, if we invited Stuart over, for example, they can all come over and, we could provide a speaker, or, they can provide a speaker, or both of us can provide a speaker and share it for the evening. I think you get the point. We're trying to slowly get used to this new format, this new virtual format, and there's no reason why we have to compartmentalize a little bit. Not that there's anything wrong with everybody having their own meetups, but I would love to have a meetup that has over 100 people joining for it. I think would be encouraging. That'd be encouraging on a number of different levels. So anyway, if I miss your name, you know how to contact me through Twitter and through the Slack. Olivia or Jean, maybe Jean have access to it faster if you beat me to it. We do want to make sure there is a WordPress South Florida Meetup Slack. So we can throw the invite in the chat at some point as well. But anyway, that's it. My 15 minutes are up. So we have 2 talks this evening. Were you going to say something, Gene?
No. I'll put the dog.
Okay. Okay, no problem. First of all, I'd like to make sure everybody is aware of Gene's existence. Say hi, Gene.
Hey, how's everyone?
Gene is what makes 95% of this possible. And the other 5% is the coffee that is sitting on my desk, and he's not that good. But other than that, he is he is really the backbone of the WordPress virtual meetups. He's handling all the technical stuff, and he is, yeah, say hi to him, say thanks to him, because he's a new father with existing children that just didn't come out right, but I've been writing software documentation all day, so that's the best way I could describe Gene.
Okay.
He's a new child, but he's, yeah, the size of child array is 2 or something like that. But yeah, Gene works hard and he should be rewarded. But now we're going to say hi to Guy. Guy, which you're from the Southwest WordPress meetup group, correct? Which city are you from?
I'm in Fort Myers.
Fort Myers, right? And Guy is, I think we touched base almost 30 days ago, because I was sober enough to think ahead in advance and ask around if somebody knew of a good speaker. And Guy was the first person that somebody recommended. And I think it's going to be a really interesting talk. It's building landing pages with the WordPress block editor. And I know every meetup that we have, we always have somebody interested in what you can do with the block editor, because quite frankly, it changes every month. So we want to get some practical tips from Guy. And Guy, you've got 30 to 40 minutes, and I'll let you take it from here. You've got the control, right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, take it away. And then after Guy, Patrick Alexander is going to give a talk on things to think about after launching your WordPress website. So take it away, Guy.
All right, I think this works. All right, well, hello. I'll do my best with the block editor. Just so you know, I have been using it exclusively. I was really married to using page builders. I loved Elementor, but I didn't like the extra bloat, and I wanted to go a little bit more bare bones. And so I've been trying to do nothing but using the block editor, with the caveat of using some block plugins, and there's one I'll talk about later on. But today I'm talking about building landing pages with the block editor.
I'm sorry, I was supposed to insert some dramatic music here and I failed. I'm sorry.
All right. The questions will be held to the end, I believe David said before. And if you ever want to get a hold of me, gcicinelli at Gmail, it's on another slide too, or Guy Cicinelli on the Twitter. All right, so we're talking about a landing page, and I think it's becoming more well known as far as what they are. But the big difference is how is that different than what just a web page, a front page for your website. And so that's what we're going to talk about here in this first section. And so, as you can see, landing page is ideally free of distractions and drives the visitor towards a specific action that you want them to take. And that's different from a front page, because you might have your latest posts, you might have sidebars, you might have links to every site on your page, and there's 101 distractions that the user could take to get away from what you're trying to get them to do. So a landing page can be very simple. Basically it's buy this product, sign up for this service, download our thing. Maybe it's a lead magnet or something like that. We'll talk about that in a minute. Or join our group. And all of this is eventually to provide that service and provide value to your customer. And you need to get them into your email list. And so you need to get that, either sign up on a form. You might use opt-in monster, you might use hello bar, or a myriad of different ways to actually capture the information. But it can be as simple as a simple page, a big image, and a button or a form to get that information. Also, it could be really informative. It could be, especially when you're talking about trying to sell a more expensive item, whether maybe it's a managed hosting plans for affiliate marketing, or it's buying a watch, or maybe you're a travel agent and you're trying to get someone to buy a vacation, and so it's a lot of money. So there's going to be a lot of persuasion that you need to do in order to get them to make click that button and get that information or make that sale. And so that's when you have something more long form, where you go through all the benefits and you tell their story and you basically show how your product is going to solve their problem. So what makes up a landing page? Well, the basic anatomy is a headline, and you want to make sure it's good, it's clear, concise, and it needs to be relevant to what it is you're trying to sell. And you want a big, strong call to action. The user should not have to second guess at any moment what it is that they're supposed to do or what you want them to do. You don't want them scrolling down the page very far before you get that call of action. And the button itself, it needs to be bright. It needs to stand out, you know, free this, buy that, join this, download, you know, something big, bright, easy to find. And like I mentioned before, avoiding distractions. Make sure there's no sidebars. There's not a bunch of links. There's no extraneous information other than what it is specific to what you're trying to accomplish. And then you also want to build trust. You know, we talk about social proof. This includes press, customer testimonials, satisfaction guarantees, third-party verifications, that kind of stuff. You want them to feel comfortable that they're not getting taken for a ride, that they're safe doing, you know, business, sharing their you know, beloved email address with you, and you're not going to hammer them with a bunch of horrible offers. And we could also do this by using images and videos. And so you're showing images of people using your product or doing something with the intention of what it is you're trying to get them to do. Use videos. It could be like, for instance, unboxing or using, you know, whatever widget you might be selling or doing the thing that you want them to do. All of these things works toward getting that person to, you know, press that button, submit the email, buy your product. And so this is an example of all the pieces that makes up a landing page. And so there's a header, you know what the company is, you have your big header, you have a subheading, maybe some descriptions, you have a list talking about the benefits of why they should do this thing, and your call to action button. There's a lot of different ways that you could be doing this, including testimonials at the bottom. And so like here, for example, this is a Vimeo business, and basically they're right up front. It's nothing fancy, but it's a headline, a subheadline. There's no question about what you do next. So you click get Vimeo business. And then there's also a click to a YouTube video to learn more. All of this is above the fold, so there's no scrolling involved. You even have the social proof at the bottom with some of their big customers, and so you kind of get that information about, and that feeling that, you know, it's a safe thing to do. You're not being taken for a ride. And so now that we've seen all this, you know, what is the checklist? You have the headline, images, video, benefits, the whys, call to action, that's the what to do. All of that should be above the page fold. And so if you're thinking about a normal user's computer screen these days, if it's on a desktop or laptop, you're talking 1920 by 1080. It might be 16 by 900. And of course, if they have big Apple Quad HD displays, a little bit different, but generally 1,000 pixels is probably what you want to make sure the most vital information is, that it's all there. The kind of like the what and the why and the how should be solved in that first page. And like I said, avoiding links, distractions, includes testimonials, and you want to get those trust elements in there to get that social proof, people to feel safe. All right, so now we're at the point where we're like, well, how do we do this with the block editor in WordPress? And so when we talk about it, there's essentially 3 or 4 main things that we need to build a landing page. And that's our big cover photo, and it could be a cover image, it could be a header image, depending if you're using different page builders or blocks. Our call to action button, built into WordPress is the button. You could, some of the other blocks plugins might have special call to action buttons where it's more of a full row section that's really helpful. Testimonials, now the vanilla block editor, and I admit I have not installed the Gutenberg plugin, the 8.5, I believe it's up to now. I use just the built into WordPress fresh install. In fact, what I'm showing you in a bit is everything is done on an install that was done yesterday to get the newest stuff. So it's very bare bones, very minimal. But we could use the quote. You could build your own mini block group if you want by using like a heading and a quote and maybe an image of the person's face if you have it. And so when we're in the editor, there's a couple of different ways to add a block. If you haven't used Gutenberg before, then I think it continues to get easier and easier. And you could find the way you like to add blocks yourself. You could use a short code, or not really technically a short code, but a / and the name of a block if you're, you know exactly what it is you want to do, or you hit the little plus sign and then you'll see something pop up with a whole list. And there's a bunch of different organizational ways that they show the different blocks between common and layout and format, widgets, and etc. But we're going to add a cover block. We're going to insert an image. We're going to add a headline. We can add a subheading or a paragraph, and we can even add a button. And this is how it's done. This is an animated GIF I put in there. So you can see it'll just run over and over. But we're adding a heading right there. And then after this, we're going to, there it is. And the next thing we're going to do, add a button to it. You can add whatever you want. On the right-hand side, you'll see whenever you're in an element, there's context tools on the right that'll specific to what you're working on. So you can change the button color. And this is showing how to, you can hit enter from one. It's something new I learned. Actually, Birgit taught me how, because I was cheating and using different block plugins to make cover images. You see it there, same thing. So let's move on. So this right here is kind of the way it looks. You'll see what we're going to talk about. There's a landing title, the page title, and there's the header. Within the block editor, we can change that. So you'll see, we'll just play once more. There's a title, the header showing that's not really good. There's distractions, the links. So we scroll down on the right-hand side, we can disable title and the primary header just for that page. And when we update that, you'll see it. And so it's a lot cleaner. There's less distractions. And so that's our end result right there. We have our main headline. We have a little bit of a description, kind of a little bit benefits, and then right here I'm talking about 10 ways to save money on flights to Europe. Click here to download the guide. That would basically give them a form, minimal information. If you're trying to get somebody to give you your email, you don't want it to be difficult. You don't want it to be long. You don't want any extra information. You know, you could work on building that nurture sequence with email marketing at that point. But really, if you want the email address, one, you need to provide them value. And two, you need to make sure that it's easy as possible and they don't say like, oh, you know, no, I don't want to provide that extra information. I'll just close it. So you want to keep it going. All right. So once we get that big header cover image and we have our headline and subheadline and call to action buttons going on, then we want to start the, you know, what they're going to see when they start scrolling. And we're going to use images and video, customer testimonials, and maybe we're going to do a little bit of about us, kind of a share our story, show the benefits, you know, show them why our thing is going to solve their problem. So with that, I'm going to switch over and do a little bit of live work and kind of show you what I was working on, and we'll add some more blocks so everyone can see it. And like I said, this is where I pray to the internet and Wi-Fi deities for a solid and uninterrupted connection. So let's have fun. All right. Right now, this is just a simple page. I created a basic landing page doing exactly what I was showing before. One of the things I want to talk about here in the block editor is when you install WordPress, the new default, for better or worse, is that full screen mode is going to be on. And so it's going to look like this, and you're going to be wondering, like, where's my dashboard and all the things? Have no fear. The way to get that back is right here, full screen mode, turn it off. When you click in any block, you have your some context tools right here. Another thing you could do with the block editor here is add top toolbar. And so they're always up top. I prefer to have it inline. So that's the way I work that there. If you want more, I think it's actually the full screen mode is helpful when you're trying to get a better idea of how big that image is. And especially if you have text that's going to wrap, you want to see what it's going to look like. So for instance, if I have it in full screen mode, I can see a little bit more about what things are going to look like. But I also can click here and make that go away. So now I'm getting a little bit more better idea of what everything's going to look like. All right. So let's go back out of full screen mode and all pages. All right, so this is a basic, this is what I'm using as a front page for a site that I just recently built. I'm not actually selling or doing business or anything. I just use it for teaching. And so, for instance, I don't even have a call to action because I'm not actually trying to get anyone's email or sell anything to anyone right at the moment, but this is an example. This is a basic block. This is media and text. We can flip this over left and right. We can make our images bigger, smaller. We can do, we can add more buttons. We can add more, well, I don't want to do that, but it's very flexible. You see here, there's an image on this side. Again, you can change the size of it. And if I was doing this in full screen mode, we could have a little bit better idea of how things line up. You can add your paragraph or another image over here if you wanted to. These little plus signs is how you add more blocks. And be careful when you see them right here. You can add a block and say maybe you wanted to add a spacer. The spacer is even flexible. And notice when I'm clicked on here, over here on the right-hand side, you also have the contextual tools. And if you do something you don't like, you can always just remove it. It's fine. For instance, here's a little pricing box. And for this one, I actually cheated a little bit. And this is where I talk about block plugins. Stackable is kind of my favorite right now. Really, I came across it for one thing, and that was the cover, the hero image with buttons, because I had it built in, and that was only because it took me forever to figure out how to add a button on a cover image because it wasn't plain to me. The plugins will look a little bit different than your normal ones, and I'll show you here what it looks like. So you have this list. Here's the most used. You have your common blocks, formatting, and within these, you'll see the pink purple ones are the stackables. The black ones are the built-in to WordPress, or you can look at all the stackable ones all at once. So it's really nice. I have not dabbled in the directory yet, but I'm trying to do a little bit more, get more experience with that. But for instance, here, let's, for an example, we can just remove this and we can come up here and add a new block. And here's where we can go through a cover. We're going to take one from the media library. Let's do that one again. I'm going to select it. Instantly built in, it wants to add a heading. So we'll say like just hi. Constantine. We can add more text here, or if we don't like it, we can always just remove it. And the one to add a button within a cover image, and I haven't found like real documentation on this, I just know it works. You hit return, and then suddenly, let's see, do I have to add a little bit more? There should be, oh, here it is. You get the plus sign there, and that's where we add a button and say, sign up now. And we can come over here and we can change the color to red. We can change text to bold. We can go over here and type in a radius to make rounded corners. And we can add a link to maybe it's a contact page or something like that. And in fact, right here, it's easier to do it. And if you have other pages, you could just type to select, which is really nice. There it is, contact me, and open a new tab, sure. That'll open up a new form. So you can kind of see that. If I didn't like this, I could remove this. I could also add empty stuff to kind of create spacers for text. This text won't show up. You won't see that there, but it helps for formatting. And notice I have a spacer in between here, but not here. So let's go back and do that. So right here, we'll get that plus sign. We're going to add a spacer. Oh, not there. Okay, we can push that all the way down, maybe. There it is. I don't know why I did that. All right. Now, I will say with this pricing box here, it was nice. And I want to show you testimonials. There's built-in testimonials here. It's pretty nice. It already has a paragraph description. It has a place to put images. We can click on it and say, here's this person, that's Jessica. And this person was Amy and Ben. We can change information up here. We can type in their name, which maybe that helps to sell people that these are real people. Even if I got them from Unsplash, it doesn't matter. Over here, your options with the context, we can push them left. Anything you type in. You could turn on block titles. So we could say testimonials if you want, right up here. Testimonials from happy customers. Come back over here, it's showing position. We could turn that off, which is really nice. We could also, and in the past for other people I've helped, I leave, even though it says position, maybe I'll put the city that they're from. So maybe that resonates with customers, the more information you show. Now, another option, if that's too bland, with Stackable, there's the design library. And if we open that, and it's all built into it, and this is all free. I have a thing where I pretty much use only free stuff. We come over here to testimonials. You'll see the ones that are not free, but maybe we like this one with the black background. If we wanted to add more, over here on the right, similar to the one above, but we can add, instantly make it 3, 1, 3 is the max there. But it's a nice ability to instantly add more information. Let's see. All right. Let's see how that looks. Now, I apologize, my cover photo isn't really that informational right now. But we have these big blocks. They look pretty nice. Pricing box, happy customers. Oh, I must have deleted that somehow. All right, well, that doesn't look too bad. So if we come back, I'll hop out of full screen and we'll go back to my pages. Another information, something else we might want to put on here, we can add, we'll go back and we'll add our spacer, and then we'll add, let's add images because we want to show people this is a travel-based thing. So let's see what that looks like. So I'm gonna come over here and I'm looking for, they have a feature grid. Actually, I'll do images first. Apologize. Images over here. So there's style. We could change this to 4, 3. Let's do 3. And it's simple to add a new photo. I'm going to put in, here is Ireland. Here is Germany. This is London. Narrowboats in Camden area. And so then we could add some information here. We can talk about the services that we offer. We could talk about, like, so if this was a travel trip and I'm trying to get people to use me as to help plan their amazing trip, because up here I said, let us plan your trip of a lifetime on a budget you can afford. So the idea is going to be showing them where they can go, what they can do, and they just have to, hire me to help them make it happen. So we'll want to use images. We could put in video. The testimonials blocks will be important. We'll have a form at the bottom to contact us. All these are different things that we can do with the block editor. And so I find that that Stackable is really, really helpful. And if anyone has any questions too, this is, let me save that. I'm using Astra, which is, I like it. It's lightweight, it's simple to use. Also, it's a free plugin, nothing fancy. But there's good options. And one of the things that I do want to talk about is when we're talking about landing pages and making sure that we have as few distractions as possible from getting our visitor to do exactly what it is we want them to do. And this is one of the reasons why I like Astra, is on the page, this is where you can turn off that primary header so you don't have your company logo or the menu bar, which you don't want them going to anywhere else. All of that information you should be including on your landing page. So if you're worried about, you know, you have this amazing About Me page, well, you can use media and text and put in that information there. And also this title, you want your title to be there for SEO and creating your page title, but you don't want it to show. And there are ways to get rid of that, as well as getting rid of your primary navigation on particular pages without Astra. It's not so simple though. You have to go into your functions PHP, or actually your headers PHP, and use code to make it not show on that particular page. Sometimes then you definitely want to make sure you have a child theme so you don't lose, you know, make a mistake and ruin everything. But it really does help if we're trying to really get somebody to focus on what it is we're selling or trying to get to sign up for. Then we don't want this information here and up here, or, you know, maybe they click on your blog and they go down a rabbit hole, and then the phone rings, the kids are yelling, they get distracted, and they never sign up for your program. So we don't want that. So we can come back here, and all it is 2 simple clicks: update, preview, and all that's gone. All right. Let's see. If we were going to look at an About Me, and I'll do another spacer here because I think it looks nice. Say let's do a media and text. This is built in. This is in WordPress no matter what. Let's put in a photo. And then we could add, I've visited, this is my social proof about me. I visited 24 countries. Let me help you go to your next bucket list country. And maybe we want it on the right, we can change it on the left. We can use the alignment to go wide or full. I think I'm using wide on my page here. But then you think of it like, well, I don't know if I like the way that looks. We can change and transform it to just an image, and we lose our text. It doesn't look the way we wanted it, really. Fortunately, the text is lost, but that's okay. All right. I have not looked at any of the chats. If there's any, hopefully I haven't bored anyone to complete death. I am going to go back, leave, and that's about it. Does anyone have any questions? Anything more they want to see? This is time we should open it up.
Yeah, so we have a couple of questions in the chat right now. So the first, James Balter is asking, which Astria plugin are you using? And someone says what is Astria again? Is it a plugin or a theme?
Gotcha. All right, so I have themes. It's Astra.
So Astra is a theme.
Yeah.
And is it it's not bare bones, but is it like a foundational type of theme?
That theme was bare bones. I didn't install. Astra is very cool, where they have all sort of starter sites where when you install
Oh, yes. Yeah.
you can basically get like a pre-made website, just swap out all the photos. But I don't use that. And I installed it just complete bare bones. As far as plugins,
I believe you could install the theme. I think I used it before we install the theme, and then there's a plugin that you can get that works with the theme, and that it somehow downloads, like you pick something and it'll arrange your site to look like maybe a demo or a template or something. I seem to remember.
yes, yeah, they have a demo importer app, and then they also have the starter sites, and so you need the starter sites plugin. And I'm not using that right now. You'll see here. This is what I have. I'm using SiteGround, so there's 2 of these is from SiteGround, so I don't have a way around that. And this WordPress importer is new to me. I didn't even notice it, so I don't have it activated. The one plugin I'm using is WP Forms Lite, which is on my contact page, and Stackable, which is the blocks, because it gives the design library is really, really cool. Now, as far as that starter site we have Astra starter templates. Oh, they don't have any photos. Here it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you can
This
go.
is what I remember.
Yeah. So this is where it goes against, and I don't want to be like that actually, but sometimes it works really well and sometimes it doesn't work at all, is what I found when you use like import demos. I have not always had 100% luck, so I kind of gave up on it. With the design library, I feel like you don't have to add anything else and you get a lot of the benefits. So I'm going to go back and open up the page here and show that. So if I wanted to go back to design library, now before I was using it just because I wanted images, but here they have all sorts of cool stuff. They have under call to action. So instead of just a button, it's a whole row. So you can add a big header and you can add your benefits, another attempt to say like, hey, you really need this solves your problems, sign up, buy this, something a little bit more simple over here. But there's a bunch of them are not free, unfortunately, but it is kind of cool that you can get that installed really quickly and there's little for you to do. You can easily change the opacity, like here, as far as the image and the overlay. You change the little header information, you change their button color, content, link, all that kind of stuff. So it's really nice. The header, I believe, is what really sold me, and I use this a lot for big cover pages at the top, and then when you click into it, you have a lot of information. You can have everything in the middle, you can have it to the right. You could turn off the title, you could turn it on. Oops, what I do? There it is.
While you're hovering over a button right now, real quick question. Somebody was asking about how to create hovers on the button. I'm not sure what hovers on the button means, Manny, but I'm guessing meaning maybe changing the color of a button or something on a hover. Is that doable in any of the blocks you've been working with?
Actually, it has right here. So right now it lifts. There's different effects, lift and scale.
Yeah, he's talking about changing colors, but yeah, I would think any ability when you hover.
Yeah.
There's hover, I see hover colors.
All right, so that was the text.
Now keep in mind, Manny, that not every word Gutenberg block is going to give you that adds buttons is going to give you hover capabilities. It really depends on what block you're picking. So this is the
certainly. And so this one I built with This was built with just a block editor and not stackable. And so I think, yeah, that one doesn't give you any hover options. Really, it's just about color. You have your text color, your background color, you have your gradient if you want. You come in here and you could change whatever you want, memorize your hex codes, your link. But the stackable stuff does certainly have a lot more. There's a lot more to do. Let's see. So
Yeah, this one has a lot of options. So far,
Yeah.
my experience has been with a lot of these blocks that it's like the majority, I mean, unless they advertise this is a very simple minimal block, like a lot of them have different options. It's kind of like, as long as there's, most of them like 90% overlap. As long as, like, for example, like there's a lot of button ones out there, but not all of them do any hover effects or anything like that, or at least
There you go.
easy enough. Yep, that's nice.
Yeah, so there were two, the button color and the text itself. I just missed it before. And then also, let's see, let's go back to that layout. Block background. So let's take a look at this. Oh, this is with Stackable 2. When you click on something, it'll give you a little kind of demo on the left or tell you a little about it built in. You could also say stop if you want, but it's actually pretty helpful. Let's take a look at here. So here's the image. So I want to change this out, and I'm going to throw in London. And then I also, let's see, where's my opacity? There we go. Huh. Tint strength. I would call that opacity, but you know.
Yeah, that's the problem too. Everyone needs to standardize on something.
Yeah.
So here's the next question coming from Eric Sebastian, I believe. And so he was asking about, are there templates in Gutenberg? And I'm guessing he means full, like, since we're talking about landing pages, he's talking about full page templates. And I guess some of this can be covered by the plugin that we were just talking about a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
But is there any doesn't require, I guess maybe not heavy, but could require, that automatically installs maybe a couple of blocks for a single, like, can you select a layout, page layout? Can you go, Gutenberg's not really a page builder really, but it is close enough to one where somebody can say, I want a particular layout. So
Sure.
is there anything like that you can think of?
Well, I know your layouts. If it's always nice to be able to, and this is pretty common with most themes itself. When you get good at this, like for instance, I believe, and I'll be honest, I don't know exactly, but I believe I can group all of this. So now it becomes a group and I can manage it that way. I could also add this to reusable blocks so you can use it again. So if you know you have say you're trying to sell, if you're selling t-shirts and you know that your landing page for a particular t-shirt, because the reason why you'd want a landing page for a particular t-shirt is so that you can do all sorts of different advertising, pay for clicks and all that kind of stuff. And you can do your A/B testing on both the ad side to what works best, what brings the most customers to your page, and then also on your landing page, maybe you could do all sorts of different variations to do, like, okay, what color button gets the most clicks and that kind of stuff. So you can tie that into Google Analytics and all that. So you can have as many landing pages as you want, with the purpose of focusing everything on one particular one. So if you are going to be kind of mass producing these landing pages for all your products, and there's no real reason not to, then you could certainly create a template, a reusable block. And I believe that's what that was doing right here, is I could add that to reusable blocks. I can give it a name and say, you know, main header with button. So I don't have to go through that every time. So now, for instance, if I was going to, well, let's go ahead and do this. And oh, by the way, I should point out, I'm doing this very recklessly on this page because I only use this website for testing and teaching and that kind of stuff. So I'm not really concerned about losing any information, but most people, like, you'd want to do a backup before you start messing with all this stuff. It's always a good idea to do backups, backup often, multiple places. Just wanted to say that. So we're gonna have a new page. And we're gonna start with a block. And
I just want to point out while he's doing that, check out Atomic Blocks. I've been using Atomic Blocks lately, and they have this block that's called layout, and you literally you add a block called layout and a pop-up window comes out, and there's like six or seven layouts of blocks that you can select and insert. You can literally create like an entire page in a couple of clicks of just sample blocks and you going in and just changing the text and the photos. So check out Atomic Blocks plugin, and that would be able to, that's also a version of
very nice.
page templates, I guess.
All right. Well, we saw here, I was trying to demonstrate. I made that block, I saved it, gave it a name, and sure enough, I hadn't actually done it before. And once you create one reusable block, it's there. And you keep adding and adding and adding. And so if you were to get a layout, you can basically group the blocks and it becomes a layout. I hope that kind of answers the question or provides an option. Now, certainly
close, yeah.
With landing pages, there are plugins that you can add a plugin that are focused on just building a landing page. And so I haven't used them before, and I imagine they would walk you through kind of the same information. You know, you want a headline and some a subheading and a button, and you want to add all these things. So it probably has like a template, I would imagine, to make it really easy.
So here's a question for you. Have you, how familiar you are with page builders like Elementor? And is there, I've used Elementor before, so I am, is it my understanding that, well, are you familiar with Elementor period, I guess?
Yes, yeah, that was my go-to choice before Gutenberg came to be part of Core.
So is it either one or the other with these pages? When you go to a page, doesn't Elementor say, you know, like click here to go into the Elementor interface? And if that's the case, is it a problem switching back and forth between Elementor and the block editor on pages?
On a single page, yes, I would say yes. But for instance, you might want to design your front page with Elementor because, you know, I really love how it has sections and rows and everything is role based. So when you scroll, it's kind of built in to kind of get that next section really nice. I really love that. And maybe you don't want to use Elementor for other pages, so you don't have to. It's always a choice. When you open up your page, you could let's see. I believe once you have Elementor on, if you're adding a new page, or it would say like edit with Elementor right here. Or if you add a new page, then at the top, it's going to say right up here, like edit or launch with Elementor. And so it's really like a separate thing because it's really kind of saving all the information in a different location, I believe, than a normal table data, I believe. Which is why if you built something with Elementor and you migrated to a different theme that doesn't support Elementor, you can have a lot of issues with alignment and content and such.
Okay, hopefully that answers our Elementor question from Joanda, I think, and who is new to WordPress. So welcome aboard. Welcome aboard, Joanda. You can take a seat in that section over there. It's very nice. So is there, so I don't, so here's my question, and this may be the last question we have here for time purposes. If there is any other last minute questions anybody is thinking of, feel free to throw them in to chat real quick. Maybe there's a lightning round for them. Well, do you know if Gutenberg and the Astria, if that works well with Elementor and Beaver Builder? I don't know if you have any Builder Beaver experience, but I would think that as an Elementor person, you at least have your blessing, right?
Well, yes. And so interestingly, and I think I saw a hint of it when we were looking at the plugins. They actually on their webpage have those starter sites, and they are organized by page builder. So if we were looking here,
Oh, that's handy.
right here, select your page builder.
Okay, well, there you go. So if you go down this particular route, there are actual, now this puts together your sample sites in Elementor, Beaver Builder, Gutenberg, and what's the fourth one?
I can't read that.
Me neither.
Here it is, Brizzy. I haven't heard of Brizzy. That's new.
I don't know. I thought that was a rap group from the 90s. So I think it was Little Brizzy, and then he grew up, and then it's just Brizzy.
No, it's Big Brizzy. Yeah.
So, but yeah, so there you go. I actually used this for somebody who just needed to get a site set up, and I literally used the same theme, the same plugin, and I, instead of picking Elementor or Beaver Builder, I clicked on Gutenberg. Because that way they didn't have to know what page builder was, didn't need another knowledge of any page builder or something. But yeah, but so anyway, I hope that, so your last question, Guy, I think here, when it comes to building landing pages, because that's what you're talking about, mainly landing pages, when it comes to performance and page load speed, is there any difference between using the Gutenberg as you've demonstrated here tonight, or the page builder, versus using a page builder like Elementor or Beaver Builder? I mean, is there any substantial overhead or difference one way or the other?
There can be. It's not always, and I'll take this opportunity to answer the way Kyle Maurer or Adam Silverwood and say it depends.
Mm-hmm.
Depends on your code and what you're using and what's kind of like how heavy pulling stuff in. I know there's probably people on both sides of the fence there that swear by it, and it's it's something. If it's a tool you're good at, then it makes sense to use. And because it is loading in and pulling from querying the database for additional information versus what is, I guess you would say, built into core. So I guess the more plugins you have, the heavier your page is going to get. And so if you're careful with it and you're using the page builder, and Elementor and Beaver Builder for sure are industry powerhouses, and so they have teams working to make sure that their stuff loads as fast as possible. So if it's something that really makes you comfortable and it makes you do what you do better and quicker, then I wouldn't ever shy away from it. Like I said, I was just trying to, well, it turns out the long page load I have for one of the sites I manage is not so much because of the page builder that loads into it, but it's because the theme hasn't been updated in a long time. So I think it weighs down heavy. It's I could probably improve it by making sure my PHP version is updated and such. But then again, the theme is not being updated as often, so that's a risk. Always back up before you mess with PHP versions. But I guess the short answer is it is another plugin, so yes, it will add something just because kind of like I don't know if that's a conservation.
Well, I think it really depends. I guess it really depends maybe on like how much, where you are in the nitpickiness of the performance range. Because if you're someone building, if you're, you could be building a site that may not have to depend on speed and performance, at least in the beginning. And I don't, you know, I'm not sure with Elementor. I know there's a lot in the Elementor UI that makes it crawl for me sometimes, but that's the admin. That's the admin. And then once you publish, in theory, these page builders in Gutenberg, Gutenberg is saving the same, a lot of the same HTML or that you would have put if you were using before WordPress 5.0 and any other plugins anyway, or building it yourself anyway. You know, a lot of the stuff that Gutenberg does is layout, CSS, and HTML. You know, those things, if they're minified properly, you know, there may be some more CSS and HTML because they have to include things that you may not be using. But I think in the grand scheme of things, you're probably going to, I think Gutenberg and versus page builder from a page, you know, speed perspective, I think right now it's mostly in the same, personally, it's mostly in the same ballpark. But I would like to see, it wouldn't surprise me if somebody's already done that test where they built a site and then they built it again with a page builder and they said how this. If you're doing really, if you're really picky about speed and you want to get like 100 on Google or something, neither of these options are probably going to be are mute anyway, because you probably want something a little more static, or well, I don't know, you could probably build it with either of these and then make the site static. I think it's 6 of one, half a dozen of the other.
Sure.
But anyway, thank you very much, Guy, for your help in this. It's been greatly appreciated. We know that Gutenberg is heading towards page building, site building. And I think what you've shown us is an introduction into that concept. And I know there's some concepts coming in 5.5 and beyond. I even think later this year is going to be the major release of Gutenberg into more of page editing, like an actual editing of pages instead of the content in the pages. And if we all followed what you did here tonight, I think it's going to help us a lot. The concepts are not going to change that radically, you know, in terms of putting blocks here and all, you know, how to manipulate certain things and all the options you showed us, because that's how Gutenberg works, right? They have the concept more or less down. Now it's just spreading out. So we really want to thank you for that. One last question: is it possible? Oh, wait a minute. One last question: is there any way to preview any of this in mobile while you're working on it in the back end?
I'm sure there probably is. I just haven't done it, unfortunately.
Okay, so it's not something that's built in. So maybe it's possible that there's a plugin or something. I get that confused with the customizer, because the customizer, WordPress customizer, does have the ability for you while you're playing with the customizer to click on those icons. There's a desktop icon. I think there's desktop, tablet, and mobile. So I don't think, could be corrected. I'd love to be corrected if I'm wrong on this. I don't think there's anything. You know what? I remember seeing those icons. I thought it, but I don't, good Lord. I've looked at so much. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything. I may have saw a preview or a plugin or something do it, but I'm not seeing anything in my current backend in the standard Gutenberg that allows you to view anything in a particular module. But you know what? I wouldn't be surprised if it existed and I just saw it in a plugin.
Well, the way around it, I would probably use the preview button that's normally there anyway. And you know, instead of hitting update, I would just use the preview, and then when it comes up, I know I used to have an extension in Chrome that had that you just hit a button and it drops down to say, like, you know, show this on a iPhone 8, you know, or something like that. And so you would be able to do it that way, because that preview is pure real code, and so it should be able to handle that for you. Or you could right click and go into inspect with using the preview, and that should be able to, you know, do what you're trying to do. Yeah, and I'm not finding anything immediately in Google that's helpful either. So if I do find the plugin, I'll drop it in. But anyway, thank you very much. Let's give a virtual clap
Clap, 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 clap. That's what we miss. That's what we have to invent. All I got is an emoji. But yeah, but we want to thank you very much for that, guy. And this is going to be recorded. So we've already had people requesting where they can get a copy of this recording. Minus my voice, I apologize. We are not making that option available, but we will have the recorded with my voice option available. Here's the easy answer. The live stream link that we shared, it is actually going to turn into a video when it stops becoming a live stream. So you'll have both of the talks and all of the meetup stuff here, as much or little of it as you wanted. So thanks again, Guy. Greatly appreciate it.
Oh, thank you. Thank you, everybody.
So for time reasons, we're going to move right into our second talk for this evening. Patrick, are you ready to go?
Yeah, I'm ready. I'm ready.
Okay, so Patrick is going to be talking to us, and granted, I'm doing this from memory, so he may be correcting me as soon as I say this. But when you are launching a website, it is not the end of the story for many, many people, for many, many sites. There's certain things that you should be doing afterwards. And Patrick is now going to tell us, I don't know how many things, but I'm sure there's going to be plenty. So for us to think about. So take it away, Patrick.
All right, great. Thank you. So I'm sharing my screen. And let's see. Okay. So to those of you who don't know who I am, my name is Patrick Alexander. I'm the owner of Balamico, a web development and digital marketing agency. And also I'm just the lead organizer for WordCamp Miami 2020, one of the only WordCamps that was able to take place physically. And I just want to let everyone know that knows me. We relocated officially from Miami to Atlanta. So I'm now a resident of the ATL. And I will definitely get in with our WordPress organizers to fill them in as well. So without further ado, what I'm going to talk about here are the first 10 things you should do after launching a new website. And they are very critical. And one of the things I want to do is I might do some live demonstrations. So if we have any brave souls out there that would like to share the website, and the only disclaimer is that if anything gets exposed, I would advise you to fix it right away, especially if it's critical, right? So you can share your URL in the chat, and I'll check in when I get to that part to see if you can use your URL as a demo. So the very first thing you want to do after you launch your site, it's nice and pretty. You invested some time, and some of your clients' dollars has been invested in this thing. So the first thing you want to do is to back it up. If all fails, you want to have a secure backup of your website. And I always say, always back up your website off the server. So in a Dropbox, on a thumb drive, on your hard drive, but do not back up your website on the very same server that the website exists, just in case the server crashes. Also, you can back up in a few ways. You can do it manually. And by that I mean you can export the database and copy the WordPress files, right? That's one way to do it. Or you can use a plugin. And for that, my all-time favorite plugin, I'm really in love with this plugin. That's probably the plugin I've used the most, is all-in-one WP migration. That's an excellent plugin for backing up your site. It also have extensions that allow you to back it up on in Dropbox as well, right? And the good thing about it, it literally does it seamlessly. And if, for example, your website was like on a dev or a temporary URL, when you migrate that site to the actual URL, this plugin actually updates all the URLs to the correct URL. So that's one of the things that we really enjoy about this plugin. So backup, backup, backup. The other thing is to update all plugins and WordPress versions. I cannot stress that more. And you want to update all plugins, including those from the themes. So some themes, they do a lot. And in addition to that, they come with their own plugins, right? So even recently we had a case of a client website where we were trying to figure out why the WP Bakery or WP Composer, the Visual Composer / WP Bakery, where it was showing properly on the back end, but on the front end, the elements would not display. And we were troubleshooting it. And what we found out is that one of the plugins that came with the theme had to be updated, right? And sometimes, especially if you did not get that plugin from the WordPress repo, it doesn't show that in its update. However, the theme developers are always sending updates for the theme. So rarely update all plugins, right? And something you want to note is that if you have a plugin that's not updated, that could pose a serious security risk, right? And the other thing that you want to pay attention to, I know some of us can be plugin happy and there's a plugin for everything. The only thing I can tell you is that if you purchase any plugin that tells you that it's an annual subscription and what you have to do is for you to get updates, you have to pay for the updates. If you make an initial investment, plan to make that investment every year, right? Because some of these plugins, when WordPress updates, right, if you do not update that plugin, your website could stop working and it could cause a lot of unwanted scenarios. So if you invest in your plugin, right, plan to invest in it long term. Don't do it for the short term. All right, so that goes back to the idea that all WordPress plugins and versions need to be updated. In addition to that, when you install your WordPress, ensure that you also delete any theme, like say you like the 2017 theme, the 2019 theme, delete them. So you should only have the theme that you want to use and maybe the latest WordPress theme, like in this case should be like 2020. And even with that, also update the theme. So the idea is that every theme, plugin, module, right, PHP version, everything that is responsible for your website being up and running needs to be updated, needs to be up to date. If it's not, it can pose a serious security risk. Okay. The other thing is you want to disable comments and enable capture, and that prevents you from getting spam, right? And the ways you can do that is you can find and disable allow comments, right, at the page level or in the settings part of your WordPress dashboard. Okay, and a quick Google search can show you how to do that. If you still don't know how to do that, you can ask in the question and I'll be sure to demo it afterwards. In addition to that, you can use the plugin. There's one that comes with every WordPress install called Advanced Anti-Spam Security, Akismet, and also Google Capture. Some plugins support version 2 of Google Capture, and version 3 is a pretty cool one where you don't even need to enter the capture code, right? So disable all comments, enable capture. That's the first thing that you want to do. The other one is permalinks, right? And what permalinks does is it ensures that you have a user-friendly URL. It's also SEO friendly because by default, the permalink structure is the URL, right, /p equal the number, so it's making a reference to the database. So if we can move this real quick and kind of show it right here. So this is the back end of a site. Let's see, can move it, okay. Right, and this is what I was talking about a while ago. So all of these should be deleted. Any old, this is a fresh install just for this. You delete any old themes. And for the permalinks, right, you just go to settings, permalinks. By default, that's how it would look. You also want to ensure that this is where you have it set and you save, right? So that the name of the page shows up instead of a number. The other one is SEO, and on-site SEO. What I mean by that is that all your keywords needs to be set in the background, right? And the meta tags need to be set at the website level. So every page of content, you need to ensure that it's set. And a good way to ensure that is to use like the Yoast plugin. That's one of the plugins, popular plugins should do that. The other one is sitemap. And what a sitemap is you submit it. So you want to generate a sitemap to send to the search engines. And what that does is that it lets the search engines know that your website is live, right, ready to go. So it can, the search engines can start indexing your website and the contents of the pages. And the two popular search engines are Bing and Google, and they both have what is called a webmaster tool. So to submit a sitemap that is generated, you could always use a tool to generate that sitemap. I think Yoast has that feature, and there's some of the plugins that also have that feature. So to submit your sitemap to Bing and Google, you need, and for Bing, you need like Hotmail or MSN email addresses, and for Google, you need a Gmail or G Suite email address. And then you just can Google Webmaster Tools or Bing Webmaster Tools, and then you submit your sitemap. Now, to ensure that works, you also want to ensure that this setting right here, right, says, let's see, go to reading. This, you want to ensure this is not checked, right? It's search engine visibility, right? This does not need to be checked. Because if you tell the search engine, hey, come and get the sitemap and index my pages, right? If this is set, if this is checked, then the search engines will not find the pages of your website. The next one is to do a website audit. So when your website is launched, and we know that we humans, right, we are prone to error, we're not perfect. So even if it's up and running, there should be an audit done. It's similar to how a CPA would have an audit done. You not have your own accountant do an audit of your accounting, right? You need to get an outside person, an outside entity. It's saving for your website. When it's launched, you need someone that didn't create the site to audit it, or a different company. And the way you do that is that you check on every link. Now, so even if a link is not visible on the front end of the website, it's not visible on any page or any menu, that doesn't mean that that content doesn't exist, right? So this is a cool way to check to see all the content of your website. Now I'm going to check to see if anyone submitted the URL so we can give this a try. All right, let's see. Did anybody submit the URL? Do we have, let me check the chat screen. Anybody? No, no, no. No takers? Wow. Okay, let's see a URL above. Twitter, no, someone who submitted. Oh, we have. All right, let's give Rock Corner a try. All right. So the way what we're gonna do, we're gonna come here. Okay, we're gonna go to Google, and let's give this guy a try. So if your website, so within site, all right, we'll do this. First of all, actually first thing we need to do is to actually go to the site and get it how it displays. So some website has www before it. So this is how it shows up. So we need to get the exact URL, all right? And then we're gonna give this, we're gonna see, let's do a quick cursory audit for him, all right? Then we do this, and this is what shows up. All right, so far, not too bad. We're not seeing any dummy content, all right? Okay, this is not bad. This is not bad. So this is kind of gives you, sometimes the skin is if you go a few pages deep, right? All right, so this is good. So this is a cursory look, but sometimes you would see the demo content that comes with the site. This one says test. Okay, so this is really good. Okay, right here. This might be, let's see what's going on here. Add your header text. This might not be something you want to have out there, right? Let's see. Okay, so this is not too bad. You just figure out why this spot shows up where it says add your heading, recent post, WordPress. So this is something you may want to check where this is showing up. It might be a meta tag that you want to update. All right. Right here. All right, this is really good. Okay, so we just did a cursory website audit for Rocker Corner, all right? And so yeah, this is not too bad. So everyone, that's something that you actually want to do on this thing. And actually, you know, I was a little bit embarrassed. I was preparing for the talk. I was like, let me do our balambiko.co, right? And you know, we don't take our own, sometimes we our own peel. And I did this, right? And I was like, oh, okay, we're pretty good up to here. I was like, what is going on? So as soon as this talk is over, so this is some of what I'm talking about that shouldn't be here, right? I was like, oh, we're not actually selling our own medicine, right? So fortunately, we're about to revamp our website, but we need to get our guys to fix this thing. so that's one of what I'm talking about. This shouldn't be there, okay? Like this page, so we have to delete this page. This doesn't belong there. Dummy content on your website, big no-go, right? So I was actually really embarrassed. I was like, I'm about to give a presentation of the top 10 things you should do, and checking our own site, it has a boo-boo. So that's something we're definitely gonna fix, even if we're about to migrate our site. Okay, the next one is, so after an audit, analytics is very important. You wanna get statistics about your website, right? You definitely, if you're doing a marketing campaign, the statistics on your website is very crucial. And a popular tool is Google Analytics to do that. And things like what it shows you is where persons are coming from, how long they stay on your site, right? The bounce rate, how long they stay on there before they exit, the pages they visit, the age group. So this is pretty nifty. And there's some tools that allow you to put Google Analytics on your site, and you could do it two ways. You could actually see the analytics directly in your dashboard, or you could actually just log into your Google Analytics dashboard to see your statistics as well. But you would have to install a plugin to be able to get analytics about your website. So that is very crucial. The other important thing is security. Security is very important. You definitely want to limit the number of logins attempts, right, for your website, or even hide the admin login, especially if you're in the e-commerce space. So just to prevent your website from getting hacked. Another cool plugin, that we use is Security, and the free version is pretty awesome as well. It notifies you of any changes to your website, any posts, comments. You get an email notifying you what's going on. All right, and this is another nifty tool. If you didn't know about this tool before, you're definitely gonna see the usefulness of it. And we're gonna use the same site again to test. And what we're gonna do is to go to hackertarget.com, and you can use this for multiple of different CMSs. They have what is called a scanner. You do the WordPress scanner, you put it in there, and then you enter the website that you want to scan. You hit start scan, and it's gonna tell you everything it find about that site. any security vulnerabilities. All right, so it's running, it's doing its thing. So if you did not know about this tool before, you can definitely see the value of it. It's selling some packets, it's doing this, it's doing what a hacker would do initially. They're trying to get to your site, right? And so let it run while we see what's going on here. And again, some of the others, so I mentioned limited number of login attempts. Some plugins like the one that's here on this new install, let's see what the name of this one is. Right, this is a vanilla WordPress. This plugin right here is called Limit Login Attempts Reload, right? I think it limits the logins to about 3 of them. So you definitely want to have that. All right, let's see what happens here. So we try to scan this site. Let's see our results. Okay. All right, so it looks like this site is pretty robust. Any other, let's see if we have any other takers out there that has a website that they want to.
Yeah, there are a few that.
Love Broward. All right, let's give that one a go. It's a WordPress site. Okay, let's give this one a go. And every now and again, when I use this plugin, sometimes it doesn't play nice. This tool sometimes, most of the time it works. Every now and again, it may not work. Let's give this other. Okay. So now Broward Orthopedics, let's get it in there. Again, if any issues come up, you want to fix it right away. So I'm gonna say here, all right. So this one is pretty solid. Let's scan this one for some. Let's get out of here. All right, so this is North Broad Orthopedics, right? So it's telling you this WordPress is out of date, right? Some about the PHP, and basically what we are seeing here, only the admins should know this thing, not a random hack, right? It shows what else it shows? It shows the plugins that's on there, right? So there's a way to hide all of that. You definitely want to update them, give some warning about it. It says what's going on here, right? It tells you what path this is in. All this can be hidden, okay? And it tells you what theme is being used. It tells you, again, all right, I'll have it, please go and change this SAF. That's the one you really don't want to be exposed, right? The username, that's the admin username, right? You definitely want to add a plugin called hide offer or hide admin. So that wouldn't show up. So that's what hackers see. Okay, so this is definitely, it shows everything else. A really solid site would prevent you from doing that. So that's a security risk, that if this is a website that is valuable in terms of dollars, you want to have this hidden. Okay. All right. So all of this, we don't need to know that. Only the persons that have admin access should know these things. All right. Then let's see, let me get back to my presentation here. So the security is a big deal. The other thing that I'm going to mention real quick is an authentication plugin. So essentially what it does is that it authenticates all emails sent from this and prevents it from going to the spam folder. So what that means is that you need to have a plugin like EasyW, WPSMTP, WPSMTP, or WP Gmail SMTP. You enter the protocols that you get from the registrar, and what you enter the protocols in there so that, and that would be like the username, the password, and the outgoing server's information and the port number to send the email on, right? And what that does is that it ensures that this email, this message coming from the site is authenticated, and it would end up in the inbox, your inbox, or the person that you want to send that message to. Okay. Now with if you have a G Suite or a Gmail address that you want to use for this thing, you actually have to go through an additional process on Google's and G Suite's end, and the plugin will explain to you how to do that. But for the others, you just need to have the right protocols to send those emails, authenticated emails. Right, so these are the top 10. There's another one that I do recommend, and this is the one for disability. It's not on my list, but I do recommend it. So like here, if you see on one of our clients' website, so I'm talking about the accessibility plugin, right? And it's free from Userway. And what it does is that it allows you to allow someone with a disability to actually navigate your site. So one of the cool things, right?
Screen reader enabled.
Reading.
Userway accessibility menu closed. Use the arrow keys to select items to read.
Right, so you can start reading the content on the site.
Virtual assistant.
Right.
Not enough hours in a day. Header.
So this is a sample.
Keyboard navigation
And
enabled.
now that accessibility is really big out there, there's companies that are
All
getting
accessibility
sued
enhancements reset.
for not being accessible, right? And that's an entire different talk for another time, but it's just at the core, just for doing the right thing, just having that widget on there can go a long way, having the accessibility widget. Okay, and that's the presentation. Open for any questions now, and I hope that one of those things would make a difference for you and the websites that you're creating. All right, and this is me. Just thank you to connect with me. And Balambiko is a family business. This is our youngest presenter. She's been at all wood camps since she was born. That's why I know Ariella. It's my wife Rachel back there. And if you want to connect with me, I'm Patrick at Balambiko, and Balambi or Balambiko is search Balambiko. We're the only Balambiko out there, and you can get a hold of me. And do we have any questions? Did anyone learn anything new that they did not know? And use that hacker tagging tool as to your advantage. Try to hack anybody's website. And if your website got exposed, please fix any of the exposures ASAP. Do we have any questions?
So we have a question. Our first question is from Guy, who says, if you can easily explain it or briefly explain it, or take your pick, how would you keep, maybe this is before or after you launch a site, doesn't matter maybe, how would you keep your WP content uploads folder from being viewable? Do you know if there's any way to mask your uploads folder? I'm assuming Guy means like, they can try to figure out your, maybe some of your uploads, maybe their files, maybe their photos or something like that. Is there any, in your experience, has there been anything that can move your uploads folder or obscure it?
So the answer is yes. You may have to work first with the security plugin, probably by the Pro version, and they help you do that. Or you can use, if you have an admin, assist admin, they would go in there and write the right read write levels for the what is called the web user, the Apache user, to fix that. So if we were to try to do, for example, our parent WordPress.org or WordPress.com, if we put them through this test, right, you would see what they show, and theirs is pretty robust. So the answer is yes. If we do WordPress.org, we try to scan them, you might not get anything, right? So you see, this is what you see.
There's also, am I on? Okay.
You see?
Yeah.
This is how it looks.
Well, I don't know if he sees. I'm assuming he sees. I see it.
Oh, can you see it, Guy? If you do WordPress.org through that stuff, right? Or WordPress.com, Facebook, or, well, you know, we know WordPress is a WordPress site.
Yeah,
You know, you
it's
can
so
type that
the
address.
uploads folder is a very tricky beast because like I don't think anybody ahead of time, like, you know, you have directories in there and everything, but still you could guess sometimes where some files are. Or and I don't know if this applies to your question. My experience would be there is something that I used, I think a year or two ago. I think it's still good. Protect WP files. I mean, it is not really security related. It's just like if you have a membership site and you're uploading files or documents and stuff like that, and you want to make sure people don't get to it. You want to make sure people get to it. So it's not really a security issue, but you want to make sure people with the right levels of authentication get to it. That's the plugin for that. But I think that and what Patrick's suggesting for the security stuff really covers you. I mean, you can move an uploads folder, but that's not going to make any, that's not going to hide your files because everyone will just figure out where your uploads folder is unless it's a bot or something. But yeah, that's a good suggestion. I like that, Patrick. I'll add that to my list. So here's your next question as I'm reading it. Northwest Broward Orthopedics asks, I'm guessing that's a person and not the entire building. For my site, it was created by a developer years ago, and now I need to take it over. I want to move it to Bluehost since I'm a little familiar with it. What is the best way to do this? Should we hire someone? So what are your basic recommendations, Patrick, when you have, it looks like this person wants to transfer a website between one host to another? What are the quick steps, or what are the things that one should think about? And when do you call in air support and hire someone for something like that? Assuming you're not
Right.
moving Yahoo or something like that.
Yeah, so if you have the WordPress site, this is your best friend, the all-in-one WP migration. You install it on the site that you want to move it from, and then you export this. So it's very simple. You install it, you export the site, then you create a new instance of the site on a new host, and then you just import that. You install a plugin again, and then you import the site. With that said, if the website is valuable, like if that website goes down or is hacked, then it's going to cost people a lot of money. A lot of heads might roll. You definitely want to consider hiring a company like ours, right? And if you want to talk more about it, my contact information is there. You can reach out to me and we can have a conversation about it, and I can give you some support on how to best go about doing that. But it's really going to come down to how valuable is that site, right? And who is going to be affected if it ever gets hacked or not, or some of the things that got exposed is not hidden.
I will second that recommendation. I have used all-in-one WP migration and it works like a charm. It will take care of it will take care of whatever you want to transfer to. So like some things you won't think about maybe until you actually have to think about it. So it'll transfer, like Patrick said, it's not something where you download files and then you get your new hosting and then you upload those files. It's not like that. Literally, you have the two hostings at the same time going on. They're active, and you install the plugin on the start site, the old site, and you install the same plugin on the new site, and you tell the site to go look at the other site, and they actually talk to each other. One uploads to the other site without you doing anything really, and it'll do the database and the files. But it doesn't have to do, it'll do what you want. It'll do the whole kit and caboodle, or it'll do the pieces. So sometimes you just want, like this, it's a good way, like Patrick said, to, you know, if you make changes to one site and you want to push it to another, kind of like if you have a staging site and you want to push it to a production site, you sometimes just have to push files, or maybe you just need to, you know, you don't want to push the database necessarily because you'll be overwriting blog posts you've added on production since then. I was really impressed because you could, like, literally, you copy not just WordPress, not just the database, but the option of copying all the theme folders, all the plugins. Too, I think it has the option of copying all the plugins, which you don't think about necessarily sometimes when you transfer stuff. Believe it or not, some plugins don't. So, and it does that. It may take a while as it moves through, as it does it for you, but you don't have to download, although you should have a backup locally before you do this. Like Patrick said, it's almost like magic. It works very, very well. There is a license for that plugin. I think it's worth it. If you can, it really depends on your site. I'm the kind of person that's like, look, Patrick, somebody might want to share the link to the all-in-one WP migration in the chat. Take a look at that, watch a video or two, and see if it's something that like you think you can handle. And if that's the case, I would recommend it. I don't know where Patrick draws the line, but I would recommend it. But in the end, some people just don't want to deal with anything at all. And just say, if you want to hire someone, that's fine. It's just a question of making sure they also know what they're doing. And like Patrick would definitely be able to give you more advice in that category. But I think I'm seconding Patrick. That is probably the better paid. If there is a paid plugin for me to get for my backup stuff, that is it.
Yeah, it's my favorite. It's definitely my favorite. And we back it up on Dropbox and once a month. And it's yeah. And I think the biggest plus is that some sites, when you migrate them from a dev URL to the main URL, they don't convert. You have to go to the database and update all of it. And the other one that's good, it's not coming to mind right now, but you have to migrate the files one by one. But this is the best one. That's it. That's hands down. Any other questions?
Let's see what we got here. I'm trying to figure out how to phrase this as a question. You mentioned staging area for website before going live. That's all I've got. So I don't know if that's a question or not. Sorry, Cecilia. I had one too many rums, so I don't know if I'm translating that correctly. Is it a plugin? Yeah. I don't know, Patrick. Take a stab at it.
Yeah, the staging is not, there's some plugins for it. Can't remember that there's a popular guys, there's a group that always show up at the meetups, right? But yeah, so there's different, but what staging means is a place where you have this. So a good example, let me show you. So a lot of the web hosts actually provide that, right? So if I look, so I just spin up one with the hosting one that we use. This is a typical staging URL right here. You see that? webdemo-.com-apache. So that's what it normally looks like, right? And if you don't know what staging is at this time, you probably don't need it right now. When you need it, it'll come in handy. That's the best I can say about staging.
Yes, and so the first step would be, also check with your host. I wouldn't necessarily say first step, but also check with your host. You may have staging you may not even be aware of. I know some people have WP Engine haven't never used their staging environment before. Obviously, most likely you'll probably aware that you have staging. If not, you use it because you're probably paying for it, or that's one of the features they yell about. But more and more hosting environments have these staging things now. So, the only hosts that don't have staging right now are the very inexpensive, well, generalizing, but mostly the inexpensive shared hosting plans there. It's, yeah, so like, your Pantheon, any WordPress, I'd venture to say any WordPress managed hosting has staging on it. I can't think of anybody who wouldn't.
Correct.
So, but yeah, and then usually now, if you do have a staging environment, you may not even need a plugin because usually there's a button that you can push somewhere that the hosting takes care of that for you. And any day of the week, I would prefer SiteGrounds or whatever, if like I was using WP Engine, I'll use their transfer from staging to production or whatever they have versus a plugin, because your host will always, there always could be something funny with a host, and you always trust their tools versus grabbing a plugin for your, push to staging or push to production type of a thing. Yeah. So yeah, local by Flywheel, just basically, automatically any WordPress host in SiteGround. Yeah, but some, Patrick's plugin is especially good. For example, if you have a big site on lower cost hosting, then that's my opinion too, because, yeah, it's really depends. Now, if you're an agency or even if you're a developer, you can get that one license from that WP Migrate Pro, and you don't have to, it's not permanently attached to a website URL. Like, you can actually transfer somebody's site. It would take you maybe 30 minutes to install the plugins, hit the go button, and charge somebody an hour or two's worth of work, and then take those plugins and move on to the next person who needs it. So you could always keep a one license. Anyway,
I actually used in the past WP staging, so it actually does kind of work like WP Engine's staging, but it requires you to have like multiple sites hosted and the majority in different places. So what it was like from local development to a staging environment to the full production site. So that's how the plugin works.
Is that the one I'm pasting a link in right now?
I already did. Yeah.
Oh, that you did. Good. We're on the same page. Quite literally. All right, cool. Well, thank you, Patrick. Virtual claps for Patrick and providing that information for us. And we hope he stays safe and happy in Atlanta. He's certainly a hot spot right now. He's probably picked a good time. So good. Well, congratulations for him. Thank you very much. Well, that ends our two talks for this evening. I don't really have much in the way of announcements. We are still going to be we're still planning for speakers. Now, I would imagine our default time next month will probably, we will probably try to stick to the early August. Me personally, I'd prefer not going too deep into August because school starts in August. And boy, I don't even know. There's so many things connected to that. I don't even want to get started with it. But I might be able to share something next month briefly too. I'm working on a project. It actually involves LearnDash. I don't know if anybody's heard of LearnDash or selling video courses online, but I'm working on a very personal project regarding that. It's not promoting me, don't worry, it's not me, but it's very close to my heart. So I would be able to share some knowledge on that. I've already gotten some good feedback. I got a couple direct messages and 1 or 2 pings on Twitter for it might be a good idea, or maybe it won't happen in August, maybe in September, but wouldn't it be great if some WordPress meetup organizers could have the month off and all they had to do was just say, go here this month to watch a WordCamp or to watch a WordPress meetup. So we've already invited, so we might get some fish biting on that. Sarasota and another one, I forgot who it was. So we may have a bigger family next month or the next month after that. Who knows? And we'll definitely try to secure if there's any speakers or anybody you think that might be interested in sharing, or if you yourselves just want to share a few minutes of maybe a plugin or a WordPress thing that you thought was interesting, or maybe it was a nightmare and you want to warn people away from. That's great. That's what we're here for. The format of the meetup has not changed. This is still everybody can present and call forward, and give us because it's virtual, we like to do things in advance. So just let us know in advance and so forth. Gene, what do you think? What would you like to share with the folks? If anything I missed or anything you want to bring up?
No, but one thing we did also bring up as well is a developer meetup. So not just like a Miami, Florida thing, but more of a open developer meetup. We pretty much posted on Twitter and we got some good feedback on it. I think we just needed to get that together. and hopefully get something going in August or September as well.
Yes. If I was good in Twitter, I would have found that and pasted it in. But because I tweet way too much, it's too far back. It's too far back. It's not worth it. But yeah, we've gotten, surprisingly enough, there is one podcast that could count as a developer podcast, I think, but there really is not anything that is like a national, for lack of a better word, monthly developer meetup type of podcast. And a lot of people said, yes, this should exist, because I think developers are antisocial and they don't have time to come to meetups. So maybe that's the problem. And I think, or some of them, I think a lot of meetups, developer meetups too, are just way too basic. Like I don't propose, it's hard to talk about complex coding topics on developer, but you can do it. We've been, Patrick, Gene and I have been to other meetups for JavaScript and other subjects, and it can be covered pretty well. But we could always start off with, our first meetup with, I've always been a big fan of, like, if you have two talks during a meetup and one of them is on the beginner side and one of them's leaning toward more of the advanced side, I think that's something you could do pretty well. So you could always do a crash course on building your first WordPress plugin, and then you can do something a little bit more advanced. Who knows, maybe
Gutenberg blocks the hard way.
Heck, I'd settle for the easy way first and then go for the hard way. I've been doing way too many things the hard way in the beginning, and it's chafing me so. But yeah, Gene has a lot of knowledge he can share with that. I love to share some more advanced topics on how Enviro Gallery, one of the plugins I'm responsible for, how that works, how we put that together, how you build that, how we release that plugin, that's that sort of thing. How do you design a plugin that has its own add-ons? How do you make sure, how do you sell a core plugin that has like 20, 30 different add-ons that hook into it and all of that stuff? So yeah, and then just basically how sometimes it's just like how PHP works. Like, what is PSR4? What is that? It is not a PlayStation. It is not a PlayStation accessory. It is
What is that?
Yeah. Or how do you test your code? Or how do you, some people are like, you wouldn't believe, probably some developers, at least some developers that probably would come to our meetup, like what IDE do you use, and how can you set it up so that when you code, you can have your IDE check the code you're using against PHP standards and WordPress standards, so you can discover errors even before you save that file, that in that sort of thing. So I think it'd be pretty worthwhile to have a developer meetup, and we're looking forward to discussing that. Seeing that soon. We've got a lot of good feedback on it, and maybe I'll ping a couple of those key people and we can I'll invite them into a Slack conversation. If anybody's serious about doing that, let me know. Or if you just like to support it, just retweet it on Twitter. Gene dropped the link in there. And like I said, it's not strictly WordPress. I think if you have some PHP knowledge, JavaScript knowledge, I think that would be pretty cool as well. Gutenberg blocks, I think, is pretty hot. So anyway, is there anything else you can think of, Gene?
No, I think that's it. It's been a long
Gene's
day. So.
Yeah, I know. Unless those your toys behind you, I know you've got children. They're waiting for you. Yes. All right. Well, thank you everybody for coming to the meetup tonight. Thank you, Guy. Thank you, Patrick, for your presentations. We greatly appreciate it. And like I said, we really would like to find other meetups and kind of combine our resources a little bit. We'd love to bring in meetups and provide them speakers or vice versa. So if you know anyone that would like to help us out in that regard or just want to spread the word, I think it'd be a great idea. We can host some people, and then next month or some month down the road, they can host us. So I scratch your back, you scratch mine. But anyway, thanks everybody. Be safe. And if you want to just say hi or talk further, join the WordPress meetup Slack that we already pasted in. So Have a good night, everybody.
All right. Have a good night.
Take it easy, Gene. Best to your family.
You too.